Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Donna Martin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I had to stop and think what month it was. As I was about to say, welcome to the first normal board meeting of the Village of Ballston Spa Board of Trustees for the month of August. Time is flying, 2023 here. I am also trying to buy time because technically our public hearing is supposed to start at 7:01 and it has not turned the clock yet. So to be official, I have to buy another 10 seconds or so here. Hope you all are having a great summer. Any good jokes? No, I'm just kidding. But we will start in a second here, and I will read the public hearing notice when we are now at 7:01. And this was sent out. Public hearing will be held at the August 14th, 2023 meeting of the Village of Ballston Spa Board of Trustees at 7:01 p.m. in the lower conference room of the library located at 19 Milton Ave to consider approval of the 2023 Village of Ballston Spa Comprehensive Plan update. So we will open the public hearing at 7:01 p.m. We will start with anybody in the house here, and as normal, we'll give you up to 5 minutes, and you will go over to our podium over there to speak. And if you would like to speak as to this public hearing, please do so. Feel free to raise your hand. Christine. Christine, you'll have to hit that button to turn it on. You'll see that red light going around the microphone. Right at the bottom. There you go.
Green light. Christine Fitzpatrick, 31 Chapman Street. I want to comment on the comprehensive plan, and I would like to just, as a resident, personally thank everyone who worked on the comprehensive plan, led by Karen Martell, who's in the room, and all of the people. It was an incredible effort. It is a good document. It is well written. And what we really have to do is pay attention and follow it once we adopt it. And it was a real tremendous effort. There has been so much more public engagement in the last few years, and this is the kind of quality product we get. There's an old saying, 2 heads are better than 1. Well, in this case, 12 or 15 heads were better than 1. But Karen Martell and John Cromie and a number of other people who were on this committee did yeoman's work, came up with a great product, and I personally am very thankful. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And Karen, I echo those thoughts. Thank you for everything you and your committee did for this. Everything comes full circle in life. You went to school with your kids and everything else, and then to come in with a comprehensive plan going on and you cheering it, it's kind of just full circle of life here in the village and surrounding areas. So thank you very much for everything you've done. John Cromie.
John Cromie, 132 Bath Street. Back in, I think it was January 2021, I was asked to be on this committee by former Mayor Larry Albright. And I thought at that time, if we worked hard at 6 to 9 months, we should be able to polish this thing off. Well, 6 to 9 months later, we were able to identify topics that we thought were very important to the village and also an agenda. And that agenda basically was a meeting a month. Excuse me, 2 meetings a month, 1 topic a month. The first meeting, we talked about the topic generally. The second meeting, we sort of brought things together and tried to reach conclusions or decent observations on that particular topic. And we met for at least 11 months, and there was not one heated discussion. Everybody's opinions and ideas were recorded, put down, and then we worked in consensus. What we came up with basically is a result of that consensus. And we were very fortunate to have B&M Associates come on board about halfway through the process. And once they saw what was going on, really joined in and helped support our committee. And they have taken our ideas and our thoughts and what we put together, and they have packaged it. And they've packaged it very nicely, I think, in this final draft of the master plan, which was, of course, also reviewed by the zoning and the planning and the historic district commission and the village board itself. Various modifications were made. Committee again reviewed all those modifications and gave its approval. There are two things I want to talk about that in specific. And one deals with the infrastructure. And as we all know from reading about Michigan and Jackson, Mississippi, whatever, infrastructure is very important for any community. Infrastructure has to be good in order for people to want to invest in their homes, their businesses. And there's one area of infrastructure which really needs top priority. It's not sidewalks. It's not streets. It's not trees. It's not trails. It's not the water system or the storm, the sanitary sewer, or even the structures involved in the village. That people over decades of neglect are in a very, very fragile condition. It's really the stormwater system. Stormwater system is very fragile. We had Lou Neals, and his staff, Cooperative Extension, who advised people throughout the county and municipalities throughout the county about stormwater. We are an MS4 municipality. We have to be very serious about the stormwater systems and make sure that they're working. They found out of about 100 and some drainage basins. There were mainly, we'd be lucky if 24 were working properly. There were drainage basins draining to God knows where. They could not figure out where the drains were going. Maybe to the sanitary system, they don't know. There are certain areas of the village they felt that perhaps we ought to just start new. It's a major job that we're going to be facing as a community, and the state can force it. And if we end up being forced, it's probably more expensive. We are in a bowl. A good part of the village is in a bowl, and fortunately, there's a great release to the east in that floodplain. Still, we have more and greater storms coming up on us, changes in climate, and our community has to be addressing that particular infrastructure problem and should give a priority. The second thing I want to mention is something which is a little bit odd, but the people on the committee all knew their neighborhoods. And not only did they know their neighborhoods, but they also thought the village was just like their neighborhood. And we found out by talking to one another that's not the case. The village has some very distinct areas. We have the suburban areas of Cornell Hills and Kelly Square, Forest Park, and even Chesterwood Court. Those are suburban areas. They are very different from the rest of the village. In the southern and eastern part of the village, we have large lots, large homes, wide streets, far more things that can be done in those properties, as opposed to the north end of town and even the island. The island is the area behind the Baptist church. Those are smaller homes, smaller lots, narrower streets. Then we have the area down in the flats where I live. And also lower Malta Avenue, areas around Science Street and Court Street. Those areas are really adjuncts of downtown. And when they're looked at, they should be looked at as in relationship to downtown and as a residential development. Where I live, I can step out the front porch. I see a factory, I see a warehouse, I see a single family, multiple families, two families, just by looking off my porch. We define Euclidean zoning. And but that's a different type of area. And so when the people start working on the zoning law, I ask that they go through that same exercise to look at all the different areas of the village. And there really has, those areas all have to be treated somewhat differently.
Thank you, John. Anybody else in the house? We have a hand on Zoom, Matt Erkeline. Matt, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. This is Matthew Workline, 91 Division Street. I served on the Comprehensive Planning Committee as well. And just a question, there was some late breaking, an oversight that was brought to my attention. And I was wondering if there's any, at this late stage in the game, there's any opportunity to edit or remove a possible phrase.
It can still be amended technically. So what in particular are you going to point out?
Okay, so in the community goals implementation framework section, page 44, the housing section, there's a short-term recommendation number 9 called accommodate affordable housing opportunities. That second sentence is rather contentious in today's politics and news. The sentence reads, recognize opportunities to be responsive to potential population increases from outside the region due to climate migration from coastal areas, et cetera, and provide infrastructure and services to accommodate migrants from climate damaged locations. Now, given that topic's popularity, I would like to see it would be in the best interest of the village to have that sentence to be removed and not to actively expose Ballston Spa to that kind of controversy. So that's why.
So what page was that again, Matt? Just I'm trying to catch up with you
So
here.
on the PDF, it's page 44. I don't know how it presents itself if you print it. So
Got
it's
it.
short-term recommendation number 9. And again, I apologize for this late-breaking item here. Just basically came across it.
Is that something the whole committee agrees to? Or is that your personal opinion?
So if I recall, we did have this conversation and I did voice some opposition to having that statement in there, and I did request it to be removed. I'm not quite sure where we landed on that, and so I'm not sure if it was still in there or not. So we never really said yes or no, but there was some opposition to that was voiced.
Okay,
So,
just to confirm, the sentence was again, recognize opportunities to be responsive to potential population increase from the outside region due to quote climate migration unquote from coastal areas, et cetera, and provide infrastructure and services to accommodate migrants from climate damaged locations. Is that the sentence?
yes, that's correct. I think just simply removing that one sentence would kind of keep us under the radar.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I believe that would be it.
Thank you very much. And I think we have Jared Icolucci next.
Yeah.
Jared, I think you're ready to go.
Hi, good evening. Jared Icolucci, 24 Chapman Street. I also served on the Comprehensive Planning Committee, and just want to first say thank you to the board and to all of the other committee members for all of the work and support throughout the process. It was a long process, as has already been mentioned, and I think a lot of the pieces I wish to emphasize have already been driven home. I do want to reemphasize that the key next step, as John Cromie was pointing out, is in rezoning and in the continued need for further engagement with all aspects of our community to understand each of the different needs for each neighborhood. I also just want to mention, I know after just hearing Matthew speak, I also don't know where we ultimately landed on that piece. But my recollection is not that we all determined as consensus to remove it. That may be the case. If it occurred in email, I did not see it in just a quick search before I unmuted here. But thank you all. Have a good night.
And let me add one thing here, and thank you both of our participants on Zoom so far. We will be leaving this public hearing open, so any written comments that want to be added, if somebody comes up with some other information or thoughts on this, are welcome to submit them. We'll have you submit them to our village clerk at villageofballstonspa.org. Again, village clerk at villageofballstonspa.org. But we will leave the public hearing open because of the magnitude of something like a comprehensive plan update. That's the general idea that most municipalities use to give one last chance for public comments on something of this size and importance. Anybody else, either in the House or on Zoom, that would like to participate in this public hearing right now? Again, you'll have the opportunity to send in comments, and then we'll close it at the August 28th meeting, most likely. Seeing no hands, seeing no Zoom hands, we will, what's the best word, adjourn this public hearing at 7:14 p.m. Again, with remaining open for the purpose of public comments via email and writing and other sources.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just clarify, there won't be any more verbal comments taken at the next meeting.
We will see if there's any need for it at that point in time. I think it's the way we do it. So leaving it open will at least give us the option if there's a desire or a demand or a need for it of some sort. So I can't guarantee it, but that wasn't the intention of keeping it open. Okay. So let us go to the next step here, which is minutes. Can I get a motion that the minutes of the July 24th, 2023 meeting be approved?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fontaine.
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll abstain because I was-
Oh, that's right. He was not here for that one and for the next one as well, I think, right? Because it was Sean, Liz, and me. So kind of get a motion from one of you two for the minutes of the July 28th, 2023 special meeting being approved.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Cormos,
I'll second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor? Aye.
I abstain.
And opposed? Two abstentions from Trustee Baskin, Trustee Fontaine. Motion carries. Mayor's announcements. I'm going to kind of kick most of my announcements to the old business section, but I do want to remind everybody that on Sunday is Family Fun Day from 10 a.m. to 12 for the quiet period for a more sensory low type affair portion. We're going to have that specific 2-hour block for that purpose. And then from 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock for the entire public with a lot more noise and excitement going on and food and a whole lot of things here on Front Street. So you'll want to come out. The weather so far looks like it's going to cooperate, which is a good thing. As you know, our weekends have had some challenges from time to time. But food is going to be basically in the $1, $2, and $3 varieties in many cases. So we've kept it affordable. And the whole thought of Family Fun Day really is that the affordability of the fair has become such that a lot of people can't for their families. And so as we begin to end the summer here and have everybody head back to school, to really give everybody a chance to go and enjoy something akin to the fair and kind of one last hurrah here in the summer for the village. Also, though, I want to thank everybody that came out to and participated in Swimming Under the Stars on Saturday night. It was a great turnout despite the forecast, and we only got one passing shower late, so we were lucky there. We had some great dignitaries from in the village and out of the village that helped out. The fire, police, cooking. Kate Garis and all of her lifeguards and instructors did a great job. It was just a great overall night. Mayor Romano doing the marshmallow fire again. Appreciate his work and help on that. But thanks to everybody that came out for that event. It was a really good success once again. There's that. Let's go to liaison reports. We'll start with Ben.
First about the Committee on the Arts. There was a wonderful concert yesterday organized by the Committee on the Arts and with Brookside's co-sponsorship and with the Musicians Trust, Saratoga Arts Funding, a jazz combo. And I encourage people to go to the next one. There's going to be another one, I think, in October and one in December, and all at Brookside. And just keep your eyes open for those announcements. And then in the near future, September 1, there's going to be another plein air painting opportunity. Again, go to the Facebook Committee on the Arts, Ballston Community Arts, or website for more information how to sign up for that. I think it's $20 for village residents. You don't have to be a village resident. So, and then for the Park and Tree Board, the big announcement is they're doing a grant. Liz, maybe you could talk about that.
It's my turn.
Okay.
Sean?
So DPW has been really, really busy. They've been doing some catch basins and stuff, but moving forward, they're going to focus on 4 streets and start paving. The first thing would be Mill, and that would be Hyde Boulevard, Malta Ave, Grove Street, and Pine Street. So they're trying to get them done before school opens so they can have them all buttoned up. And they will continue to pave on 7 more streets, probably September and early October. We had some stormwater drainage problems over at Chesterwood Court area. There was a pipe failure. So they're working on that now, and that's gonna take a few days. Obviously, they'll be helping out with Family Fun Day, prepping and setting up. And probably later in October, they're gonna try to work on Kelly Park fence and the future pickleball and basketball courts. There's also a storm drainage project planned for Dublin Drive. That's also pushed to September and October. And obviously, they're still reading meters and replacing ones as needed. One thing they've been doing recently that has kind of taken them away from some of these tasks is helping out adjacent towns with a vac truck, which we recently purchased a new vac truck. It's kind of a favor. One hand helps the other because they help us haul away millings and asphalt when we do our paving. So kind of a payback.
Yeah, they not even just that. When we've had a bunch of different projects, they'll send equipment to us, so we thank them. Two things we do want to raise with respect to that to DPW or slash just streets in general. We became aware today of some of the blocking of parking spaces on Route 50 that are going on without much notice to us. We're going to be reaching out to the state to see what their plan is and how they're going to handle that, because obviously it's a very sensitive issue, parking in the business district. So Jennifer's going to be following up on that starting tomorrow to make sure we have some notice to everybody as to what's going on there. We're hypersensitive as to the needs of the businesses, and sometimes Grid and the state aren't as responsive in that respect, but we'll try to get the information to you. Also, we've been working on that Kelly Park situation with getting the activity area back going with pickleball and basketball, as Sean mentioned, and want to thank some participation. We're figuring out exactly what from Tampa Brothers for asphalt purposes, Evolution Paving, and also the county for some participation that they've all promised toward that, in addition to money that we've put aside for it. It's going to be great. It's an area that's been really underutilized. And while we may not get it fully off the ground in terms of the activities in the summer this year, obviously, we're going to have it ready to go in a kind of permanent format over there so that we can get it going in the spring, especially when we're back to good weather. So thanks to everybody working together on that. Let's go to Bernadette.
All right, so just a few announcements from the BSBPA. The weather has been a bore this year, lots of rain when there's fun events, so things had to get moved around. We have a motion later on to approve the rescheduling of the ice cream social to the 31st. That's from 6 to 8, I believe. I encourage everybody, if you're not already going to go to the farmer's market, it's Thursdays and Saturdays. The vendors are really wonderful people and want to see the village do great things and want to be a part of that. So I encourage you to get down there. There's good food, there's vegetables, and that's going on. And they have the new team working on, how to revamp it, how to encourage growth in the market, which also just makes our downtown more vibrant. The BSBPA just announced the beautification awards. They're going to be accepting nominations. It's on their website, ballston.org. So if you've seen some great renovation projects, we want to encourage and applaud those people for their efforts investing in Ballston Spa, making this place a more beautiful community. So I encourage you, if you know somebody you want to give acknowledgement to reach out to them. It's an easy form. And then also, after Family Fun Day, we have a few months until our car show. That's on October 8th. And as always, they're looking for volunteers. And that's another big event that needs a lot of hands. So please, if you want to volunteer, reach out to Dana at ballston.org. Thanks.
And Liz.
Yes, on Park and Tree Board, we've been working diligently over the last few weeks to write a grant. This grant is the follow-on grant to the DEC tree inventory and management plan. This is the second phase. And we're applying for a tree maintenance grant, which the total grant is $53,860, with us providing 12.5. Grant amount is $41,360. And if we get that grant, we will be able in our downtown area to remove 7 trees, prune 41 trees, train 13 trees, remove 7 stumps. By the way, the removal of trees is with the stumps, and potentially plant 11 trees. And plus with some of the additional budgeted money, we might be able to do all 19 trees areas in the downtown area. So that will be, a major project. We'll hire a consultant to, to do the actual work. It won't be put on DPW. So the grant is due on Wednesday, and we hope to deliver it tomorrow. So on the library, they've got a lot going on. They've got their story times on Wednesdays in person in the library, and Thursdays outdoors at Kelly Park. That's at 10 a.m. They have a Happy Planners Social Hour at 1 p.m. on Saturday the 19th. And then for the teens and tweens, on Thursday, August 24th, there will be a fencing lesson. So if you've got a teen who'd like to wave the sword, you learn how to fence. You can go to bsbl.sals.edu, their website, and check out their calendar. That's it.
We would be remiss if we didn't thank Jason Buchek, who's on the library board, for his work with National Grid to ensure that power can be improved for the renovations of the library that are coming up. Library board has been working with Paul Mays to determine what the load necessary for the improvements will be. And it was a little bit of a vexing situation because we already have, I think, a little bit of a power deficit here, although it doesn't really affect things with the elevator. But as things continue to improve and more goes online here, there was needs beyond that. And Jason has worked with Grid to make sure that it will not cost the village, from what we can see, anything to improve it. So thank you to Jason and to the entire library board for working together on that, because that would have been a large expense if it fell onto the village to pay for it. Now, I got to ask the question, what does it mean to train trees, Liz? Because I'm thinking play dead doesn't work very well with trees.
No, it's often to direct the branches in the direction you'd like them to go. So, they tie them up so if the branch is headed out towards the building or something, you move it and it will adjust.
Roll over, all that stuff. Okay. Let's see. Well, normally I've been delivering the treasurer's report. I think you're sick of hearing my voice. I know I am. So we're going to get Melissa McCann, our treasurer, up here for some double duty. First, the treasurer's report. Apparently a crowd favorite, Melissa is. And we'll make sure folks know who you are. There you are. But we'll start with the treasurer's report for this meeting. Go ahead.
Okay, my name's Melissa McCann. I'm the village treasurer.
Right in the microphone, though, too.
Sorry.
There you go.
My treasurer's report is kind of a combination with my presentation, although I will make it short. We did hire a deputy treasurer. Her name's Amanda Ospelmeyer Rivera. I asked her how to pronounce that before tonight. She started working for the village on July 31st, and she's doing a great job so far. Amanda has been a wonderful addition to the village office. She's very energetic. She's very willing to learn. She answers the phone. She's been really great. Water and sewer payments are due by September 1st. To avoid penalties, we are currently in the process of entering lots of water payments, and we're current through August 10th at the time when I wrote that. Village pool fees this year, we've collected a total of $24,784. So that's good news.
As you do that, one thing to recognize too with the pool is, and I realized this the other day, when it rains, we don't pay our lifeguards, obviously, for the time that they would have worked. And it's unfortunate for them, but it has, if our revenue is below what we expect, it's also going to knock our labor fees down as well for the pool. So it all balances out at the end of the day. I know it's been a rough summer with respect to the weather like that, but hopefully we'll get a good ending here for the ones that haven't gone to school yet.
The third wettest July on record, so, yeah. So I'll get back to Amanda. She's been training with me. She works Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. She's been learning how to do payroll as well as inputting utility payments, which can be very tedious. She's working approximately 18 hours a week. We finished in July, we finished the calculations for the police retro pay for their contract. Their contract renewed as of June of 2021. A special thanks goes out to Officer DiMartino, Don Traver, who's in the house, Mayor Rossi for all the help in calculating the and configuring the final dollar amounts for the officers. It was kind of a challenge because we had switched ADP systems in the midst of it, so we were pulling reports from two different systems, but we were able to get it done. The total amount that we paid out the police was $49,877 of retro pay. Hopefully that won't happen when they renew their contract next time. Let's see, I already mentioned that we're putting in water and sewer payments, then we're working on putting the deposits into the accounting system. I'm thankful for Tricia and Amanda for keeping up with that, with the task, because it is overwhelming. Over a Zoom call, I met with Bob Fox and Melissa Colombo. Her name's Melissa also. It gets a little confusing at times, so we know who each other is, but other people get confused. Anyways, I talked with them about the AUD, and I don't know if anybody has ever met Bob Fox, but he's very smart, very knowledgeable, and after 47 minutes, my head was about to explode because he just like shoots information at you. But anyways, he gave me a huge list of things that we need to do to complete that AUD, and I'm hopeful that Melissa will be able to help me and Amanda can help find some of the information that they're asking for. EFPR, which is our accounting system, we're in the trenches with the village in regards to our ADP system, our ADP payroll system. We used to be on ADP Workforce. February 1st, we changed to ADP Run. And I wasn't here in February, but I'm told that things were a lot smoother up until the time that we changed. So we're working with EFPR about possibly, we're trying to fix some of the issues that we're having, or maybe even switching to a different payroll system. Hopefully we'll have that ironed out very soon. Because employees come to me and they're, you know, I kind of bow my head. I'm like, okay, what's wrong? So hopefully we'll get that figured out soon. Melissa and I have a Teams meeting this week. We're gonna do a team, like a Zoom call, and she's gonna teach me some new things in AccuFund, the accounting system, about pulling reports and such that will help in our office. And then the last thing I have is that I signed up for 2 classes with the comptroller's office. One's next month and one is in October. So hopefully that'll bring me up to speed with what my duties are as a treasurer. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Any questions on the board?
I've got a question.
Turn that microphone on, go right ahead.
Yeah, when are we gonna be seeing regular reports on the village's finances? We used to receive those every month. You know, so the status, I know we got some stuff from the FPR, but it wasn't really friendly to look at, and it had this month without any trends. I know you're new, but I assume that the new accounting system has some of that functionality in it.
Yeah.
And we just have to tap into it. Specifically, the library says they haven't gotten any reports for quite a while. And they're very concerned because they're trying to balance with these grants and all of that and, you know, manage their finances. And if they don't see where they're at, they can't do that.
Right. I will bring that up with Melissa when I meet with her on Thursday. That is one of the goals, is the financial reports, because I know that you guys are normally get them? Do you get them once a month for the meetings, or
We used to.
is it every meeting that you would just once a
Once a
month? Okay, yeah, I will bring that up with her. Thank you. Question.
So it's typically like profit and loss and a balance sheet. Those would be
Okay.
helpful every month.
I just wanted to say welcome aboard,
Thank you. I appreciate
and I
that.
hope you don't go anywhere anytime soon.
I told Frank I'm not leaving.
She threatened me already, see that?
Sorry, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a question, do we know why we switched ADP systems?
Well, it was to give some of the responsibilities over to EFPR, and that is an upside to a certain degree. But the downside has been that keeping track of comp time and vacation time and the rest of those alternate hours, let's call them, on pay stubs, for instance, has become a little daunting. We have actually been walking them through the issues that are coming to us from the employees across different departments, and they're seeing it for themselves too, some of the challenges. So in concept, ADP Run is allowing us to kind of say, here's our spreadsheet of hours, go run our payroll, thanks for the checks the next day. But it is not necessarily something that's working as well as we would have hoped. On paper, it looked great. In reality, everybody's getting paid. It's not a question of that. It's a question of tracking, et cetera. So they too are a little frustrated, seeing it firsthand, some of the things that we've been pointing out. And kudos to Melissa, because everybody in the departments that are affected most, which is DPW and police especially, are complimenting her on just getting things nailed down and taken care of to make it consistent week to week. But obviously, there's still some things to be fixed. Is that helpful? No problem. Anybody else? Hearing nothing. Just what you can see the litany of Mayor Rossi below here. I just want to give some quick updates because obviously there went 3 weeks between meetings. A lot of things have been happening in the meantime. So in general, and Alex, I think, has some notes from maybe Carla on this one to a certain degree, but I just want to make sure I have the full list that Carla and I were even talking about today. Parks law was given to us in a draft form, a very early draft form yesterday. And we'll be reviewing that obviously between meetings and working with Carla on revisions and thoughts on that. Sidewalk code comments in a memo came in today, and we'll have to evaluate that. There's some lengthy stuff to go in there over the next couple of weeks as well with respect to the things that especially Trustee Baskin had written about 5 weeks ago or thereabouts. Traffic code is something else that she needs to put into the queue because we have an unfinished traffic code in our code book, and we need to get something in there to make sure we can write our own version of tickets, not just the tickets from the vehicle code from the state. So to have our own homegrown tickets the right way and get our parking enforcement officer back into full swing, we'll need that. So she is looking into doing that. Ethics code, kind of at a standstill with everything else going on, and she's waiting for further instructions there. Parades is something she continues to work on with respect to a topic we'll be talking about a little bit more later with respect to the unannounced protests, et cetera. But she's looking at ways to improve notice and making sure we can get a little bit of foresight here to protect the community if things are going to be coming at us in that direction, no matter who it is out there. And so she continues to work on that. She's also working on, I believe it or not, I mean, this is now 6 different codes, the remote meetings code to allow, in case of illness, et cetera, participation for board members via Zoom, which is not automatic in the state of New York anymore, unless we tell or provide notice of where our location is and allow people to view it at our location with us. That is what the law currently is. So to be able to be alone if you have COVID, God forbid, or something else, to still participate, she's working on the remote meetings code as well. So we have a litany of code changes that are right now being dealt with by Carla and Alex, who apparently keeps drawing the short straw at Bartlett, Ponte, Stewart, and Rhodes. Anything else that I forgot here?
Nope, you had everything on my list and more, so I think we're good. I'll report back to Carla with the additions.
Carla is taking her son to college, and I told her no tears, and she would not guarantee me that. So we'll see how that goes. But we wish her well. We wish Chris well as as he goes into college in his first year coming up here. CDTA bus shelters. I'm sure Ben will have some things to add here, but in general, we have been having back and forth since my meeting with Carm Basile of CDTA with respect to especially the Malta Avenue stop. And just as a reminder, the Malta Avenue stop is the one that may have moved to Front Street. Then we're figuring out what to do with it, especially the northbound version of the stop. So we've discussed, and it looks like the correct answer is going to be the parking lot next to Reshop, which is owned by the village, which would allow us to do what I call a bump back instead of a bump out to get the shelter in place, and it would probably be a medium-sized shelter is what they were recommending to us, and not cause ADA problems on the sidewalk that would normally force the bump out to occur. So we would avoid the bump out there. So that means if there was nobody parked in that vicinity, a bus could theoretically get over a little bit easier. That would also allow for a consolidation of stops because Van Buren's stop would be within basically footsteps of that stop. So there would be the ability to do the consolidation. The numbers that they've provided show the stark contrast of riders getting on at the northbound side versus the southbound side at the same stop, because apparently what is happening is either social services users or employees or something in that realm is coming from Saratoga Springs or that area, coming in south and basically disembarking from the bus, going to where they're going. So they're not seeing people get on the southbound side as much as they are when they come back from whatever they're doing to the northbound side. So the numbers are very imbalanced between northbound and southbound. So they want to see, in addition to all these other things we're talking about, what happens in early September and the next month, basically, to ridership once 7 times a day, the 450 makes stops at the DSS building for the county, and see if that affects the overall numbers generally, to see what else might need to be done over there at the stop northbound if we're now leaving southbound where it is, because again, the numbers just don't justify kind of moving it around the same way. So there is that. Ben, anything you want to add to that?
No, that was a good summary. I want to thank Reshop for being open to this and CDTA for pursuing this. There's been a lot of negotiation, and I think this is a good solution where we're honing in on. So thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else on that? Hearing none. Woods Hollow update, just a simple update here. We have received a draft contract from Jim Craig, who is the town attorney in the town of Milton. As you remember, the town of Milton wants to purchase Woods Hollow from the village. First thing we're going to do is get a contract negotiated out and ready to go. Then we have to go and get a special approval from the legislature to do the sale or purchase and sale at that point in time, which will probably happen around the May time of next year because of the way these sessions work in the legislature. So very, very early draft right now is in Carla's possession. She's reviewing it. She'll be giving feedback to the board, I'm sure, soon on it. But nonetheless, Milton has made their first volley to get that over to us, and we are going to progress as we can with respect to that.
Can I ask a question?
You can always ask a question.
As I remember, our contract with Lumac for the tree logging ends the end of this month.
Bob Rice actually stopped by 2 days after you asked about this by email, believe it or not. And always good to see him. Bob's been very, very patient and good about this entire process. So thank you to him. He just wanted an update to see where we were. And just wants kind of a nudge via email from Carla saying, we haven't forgotten about you. Tom Milton has you in this contract and everything else. And as long as we give that to him, he's fine. He just checks in periodically and wants to just make sure there's no problems or hitches in this whole situation.
Are we agreeing already to pay him?
Well, we would owe him a termination fee if we didn't. So he's basically placating or placated by the idea that we're just telling him that the town of Milton's going to do what they said they were going to do in the first place with respect to how we were going to handle the termination of the contract.
But it's not the town of Milton contract, so.
It's basically being contracted that the town of Milton's going to cover that fee list. So
Which,
the fee to end the contract with Lumac, or to terminate basically because we didn't provide them the ability to do the cutting.
I think we need to discuss this in executive session.
Well, we'll probably have to wait for Carla to return because Alex wouldn't be prepped for that. So in 2 weeks, feel free. Okay. Alongside Woods Hollow, one of the things that was discussed in the benefits related to the purchase and sale was water districting in the town of Milton. And the town of Milton, is a good faith gesture, has already pushed forward with basically a $60,000 contract and then some with Delaware Engineering to move water districting forward in the town of Milton. There are 4 providers in the town of Milton of water: Saratoga Springs, Roland, Heritage Springs, in the village of Ballston Spa. And if you saw the map, I'm kicking myself, I meant to bring it with me, but you would see things that don't necessarily make sense throughout in terms of where certain things are. You've got 4 very distinct areas on one hand, and then you've got some merger spots where water is being provided by, for instance, Heritage in the village and Roland and Saratoga Springs all mixed in. And so they're trying to make heads or tails of who's doing what, how to make these districts work. Will it be 1 district, 4 districts, maybe 6 districts where there's the overlaps going on, for instance. So they're making sure of that, what the fees will be related to that for out-of-district users, and how the responsibilities will fall from there. I took with me Alex Funicello, who is our chair of the Revenue Advisory Committee. They're looking at the water situation. I know a couple of the members of that board or committee are here tonight, but Alex came with me especially. He'll be briefing that board very soon about what he learned from this experience. But it was a very interesting meeting to have all those parties together and to know what the capabilities are in the future for certain of those providers too. So we got to learn and feel each other out about what the future of water provision in the town of Milton could look like. And there'll be a lot more on that down the line, but it was good getting to know you and making sure we're getting the information in Milton that we need to get. And again, thank you to Milton for moving forward on this, even without a final contract with respect to Woods Hollow, because this will allow us to have a little bit more knowledge as to what to do as we move forward with water rates, because this affects water rates, or at least what's going toward water in the outside users realm when districts get formed officially. But it also gives a certain level of certainty that the village is not going to face liabilities for pipes in the ground outside of our municipality that are serving Milton customers. So there's that. Anybody on the board?
Let me just ask, you said we wouldn't be going to the legislature for Woods Hollow sale until May. Why not this winter?
Apparently, they don't handle this session materials related to these types of requests until the end of their session.
Frank,
So
yeah, the legislature, Albany, well, Senate and Assembly, local bills like that are always handled in the spring. Usually the legislature is focused on the budget in the first half of session, which, you know, whether they get it done on time is not that, but yeah, we would likely work with our local officials, Mary Beth, Jim, but they're always done later, so.
Thanks.
How's that going to, since we're probably not going to get the money until close to the end of fiscal year?
okay, you're back at Woods Hollow. I'm sorry. I thought you were
Yeah,
a bit
no, I
wide.
mean, yeah, we budgeted Woods Hollow revenue into
Just-
our budget.
Just like with the USDA loan situation with respect to the vehicles, we are protected in terms of the size of our fund balance currently. So it's a question of just seeing, where the chips are going to fall here. But obviously, they're not going to pay us any money until it's signed, sealed, and delivered. So it'd be May at the earliest, most likely that would occur. Anything that was budgeted out there is technically going to come out of fund balance for the temporary basis and then replaced and not rebudgeted, obviously, because you'd be double paying out of the same pool of funds.
Therefore, it's important to at least get the contract and the terms
You got it.
negotiated contingent on legislative approval.
100%. And finally, Ricketts cleanup. This is one that I'm the bearer of bad news of sorts, I think, so here we go. Late last week, we got some documents from the DEC with respect to where this is going. And where it is going is that they are contracting with a firm from now until April or May of 2024 to determine the next steps for remediation. I called up Nicole Hines, who is the person we deal with directly at DEC with respect to this project, and asked her, what does that really mean? Are we still looking at contamination right now on the ground at Ricketts? The answer is yes. I asked her if there is a health concern at all with respect to that for people that live in that area. She said no, DOH is actively monitoring. They are not raising any kind of ruckus about anything there. But the question is now, with anything in the ground still, what to do with the remainder of it to get the site usable. My estimation personally, from what I know from that conversation, what I know generally is you're probably looking at 2 to 4 years before that site goes back online, because again, we're only going to learn what the next steps are in April or May of next year. Then it'll have to be contracted out officially to somebody to actually do those steps, then another evaluation from there, et cetera. So that's got to be a minimum of 2 years you're looking at, and possibly as many as 4 if they don't get everything the first go. So while I would want to see that site online as much as anybody, and I've been pressing DEC for information, and I'll be getting some longish stuff, so we'll be figuring out how to get that disseminated here. But we will, abide by what they're going to do, because it's on their dime at the end of the day that it's going on at. But it's frustrating. And at least they are staying in communication with us and promise to continue to do so after what I would call about a year-long pause from what I would call valid updates. So that's where we're at right now. Again, I wish I didn't have to bring you that news, but there's nothing we can do beyond just passing on the information and making sure that safety remains going on there at that site.
Can I add something from the county's perspective, Mr. Mayor?
Feel free to go up to the microphone for that purpose. Thank you.
We too at the county, of
Who
course.
are you, by the way?
Anna Stanko, 32 Kent Street. This is on the county's radar as well, because they are close to $400,000 in back taxes. So before we would take that for a tax foreclosure auction, we do contract with a special counsel that deals with DEC issues. We've really started pushing this kind of stuff forward. We have a special fund to start investigating these sites. But there is also a moratorium on tax foreclosures. Thank you, Governor. So we are at a standstill right now on taking up any properties that are tax delinquent. So on top of your 2 to 4 years, we may be looking at other issues within the county. I mean, Ricketts is one that I pushed hard on to try to get ready to sell, because it's my village. And I can do that. So again, that's good news that you had. We are working with this other outside counsel, working on that as well. So as soon as we get something from DEC, we'll be looking to possibly put some of the county's money into some minor testing as well. And then when we can start selling properties again, we will take it for back taxes.
And it's good news insofar as there's an update, but I know it's frustrating for all of us right now, what's going on there, that it's kind of sat still. This started in earnest around 2017 to 2019. And so we're years down the line here. This is longer than it took, obviously, for the Angelica site even to get into a position to be clean or whatever have you there. And so we wait. But again, we'd rather have people safe that will be using it down the line. And obviously, with contamination still present, that would not be guaranteed at this point in time. Okay, new business. Let me just go to the summary mode here a little bit, read something to all of you, and then we'll have a resolution. And I'm going to ask, as a change here, Bernadette and Ben to kind of trade off paragraphs on the resolution to show cooperation. When we get to that point, we'll have Ben start to Bernadette and vice versa. I'm just kind of spitballing here. That's why I'm saying it out loud, folks. But as you know, on August 5th, which was a Saturday, I was actually out of town during that part of the day and got a call, or actually a text, and then a call from Bernadette, who had gotten a call from Jess, who's with us tonight, about a protest of sorts with the Proud Boys, or some group purporting to be the Proud Boys of New York, in here, or in the Front Street area. There was music blaring, from what I understand, some chanting. Words were exchanged eventually. It doesn't matter who started what at this point. It's not about that. It's about the question of, we had a group in our community that didn't provide us any notice, that it would, the way that they presented themselves, especially with masks and apparently knives on their side of some sort, brandished or not, was intimidating to a lot of people. And so it is a concern. You do not want that happening in your community. That is not what Ballston Spa is about. And it was a little bit more problematic to me, just fast forwarding, in terms of some of the response in Saratoga politically that was going on. And so I reached out to Mayor Kim last week to kind of discuss where things are going there, because at the end of the day, clearly what affects Saratoga is going to affect Ballston Spa in matters like these, and vice versa. And he sent me over the answers from Commissioner Montanino's, the questions given to Commissioner Montanino, who's the Commissioner of Public Safety in the city of Saratoga Springs, and also a copy of the police report related to it with redactions in it. And there's a note in general in there, and I'm going to read you an email. It's the longest one, so kind of get comfortable here. I think it's important to read the whole thing to kind of get to the heart of my concerns that really came forward, besides the question of whether or not we have permits in a permit process in our village, which, as I said earlier, we're going to be working on in earnest with Carla, and she continues to work on that. And my email went, Mayor Kim, thank you for passing along Commissioner Montanino's answers to your questions concerning the August 5th, 2023 events centering around the Proud Boys appearance in Saratoga Springs. As I've stated to you before, the city of Saratoga Springs and the village of Ballston Spa are very complementary communities because of both our similarities and our differences. Sharing of information to assist each of our communities can only further such a positive relationship. After reviewing Commissioner Montanino's answers, though, I grew concerned about the way information moved from the Saratoga Springs Police Department to parties that might have been able to utilize such information to mobilize and potentially protect their communities. I asked Ballston Spa Police Chief Dave Bush to reach out to the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office to find out whether or not they received the notification from the Saratoga Springs police officer that is cited in answer number 1 from Commissioner Montanino. Quote, after the march, the responding member of SSPD immediately alerted dispatch and directed them to inform state and county law enforcement agencies of the group's activities and direction of travel in order to provide advance notice of other potential demonstrations. While the Undersheriff Chief Bush spoke with confirmed that the county received such a notice, it was not disseminated to the Village of Ballston Spa Police Department or in a way that would have effectively mobilized an appropriate response in our community or any other community that day in anticipation of the potential for a similar event to that which happened in our communities. Commissioner Montanino, Chief Bush, Saratoga Springs Police Chief Tyler McIntosh, and Sheriff Michael Zerlo are copied on this email. We all were lucky on August 5th that the events were mainly peaceful in both of our communities. Next time, however, we may not be as lucky, regardless of where on the political spectrum a protesting group may reside. I believe we can all do much better at the local and county levels to share information in situations such as these. In 2023, information moves quickly, meaning we must be prepared to do the same for the safety and welfare of our residents and visitors. As a result of Commissioner Montanino's report and Chief Bush's own evaluation of the events of August 5th, I'm requesting that a meeting occur in the near term between us as mayors of Saratoga Springs and Ballston Spa, Commissioner Montanino, Chief Bush, Chief McIntosh, Sheriff Zerlo, and others that any of the above proposed participants feel would be appropriate at such a meeting to discuss better methods to share information in real time during events that could impact safety and peace in our nearby communities. Please let me know the availability of participants from Saratoga Springs over the next 2 weeks so that we can determine the appropriate date, time, and location such a meeting if you agree that such a meeting is advisable. Thank you for your cooperation. Sincerely, Frank Rossi Jr., Mayor of the Village of Ballston Spa. One thing to note on the police report, it was stated that the police had tracked the caravan of vehicles that had been parked in Congress Park down Ballston Avenue. Again, none of that information got disseminated to our police department, and that is a big concern and something that the city of Saratoga Springs and the upper levels of government is concerned about as well, because the shoe could be on the other foot someday as well, where we get a protest first heading for Saratoga, and they would love, I'm sure, to get the notice that we would have liked to have gotten that night ourselves. So Saratoga has already responded with some times. Chief McIntosh is actually out of town doing military training, so thank you to him for his service in that respect, but he'll be back soon, and we'll get that scheduled up in the next couple of weeks. Work with the sheriff to get his end scheduled as well, because it would be pretty tough to not have the sheriff's department obviously in a meeting like this. However, we wanted to make sure that we provided the proper response, and you've seen some of our individual responses on social media over the last week and change on these matters. The board worked together last week to come up with essentially a statement which we've made into the form of a resolution. I want to thank Sean for reminding us of the 2017 resolution that this board at that time had created in response to the Charlottesville riots in August of 2017. And it allowed us to say and look at it and say, let's reaffirm the principles that were in that 2017 resolution with obviously a different preamble to it and a little bit different final paragraph, as you'll hear in a moment. So again, why don't we trade off paragraphs between Ben and Bernadette to read off this statement. And again, I want to thank Bernadette, especially that day, for being my eyes and ears here and making sure that we got the police response to our business owners and to anybody else that needed it once we made sure that the group had dispersed in the village. So thank you again to Bernadette. Go ahead, Ben, and start with the resolution.
Okay, I just want to say a little about the genesis of this. Just in my mind, I thought it was very important that not only do we speak as individual trustees, but in this opportunity to come together, that we take that opportunity and we respond as a single voice to voices of hate and sexism and homophobia. And so I pushed very hard to have us create a joint statement that you're going to hear in a second. And I want to thank the other board members for agreeing to create a joint statement and cooperating on this. It's not much that we cooperate on, but this is something that we can all get behind. So I'm grateful for that. And I will start the first paragraph and Bernadette will take the next. And I'm also looking forward to hearing what your comments are and responses, and we can have a continuing conversation about this, about what you think you'd like to see from your elected officials and how we can support each other. So, all right, first paragraph, whereas the members of the Ballston Spa Village Board of Trustees are aware of an unannounced protest on August 5th, 2023 by the namesake of a group that is viewed by some organizations in the United States and Canada as a hate group, and that was at least partially responsible for the destructive events of January 6, 2021 at the United States Capitol building. And
whereas the Village of Ballston Spa continues to reject hatred and racism and continues to have a long history of welcoming all who have come to call our wonderful village home and who have visited. And
whereas the Village of Ballston Spa welcomes all residents and visitors, no matter the color of their skin, ethnicity, religion, gender identity, or sexual orientation. And
whereas the members of the Board of Trustees wish to reaffirm their statements from August 2017 following the Charlottesville, Virginia riots.
It is therefore resolved and reaffirmed that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ballston Spa will take all actions within its powers to emphasize the openness and inclusivity of our village, to ensure both that all residents and visitors feel welcome, and to make clear that there is no room in Ballston Spa for racism and hatred based upon race, ethnicity, religion, gender identity, or sexual orientation. And
It is further resolved that the Board of Trustees will continue to work with local law enforcement agencies, their village attorney, and others to ensure that while the First Amendment rights the village will be able to provide safety, protection, and fair notice for its residents and all present in the village before, during, and after groups choose to exercise such rights inside the village.
We have copies of that available at the front. And Terry's actually putting them, Chris Biddle will hand them out. How's that for everybody? Chris is good at that. Thank you, Chris. Again, there's more to be heard about this with things that we became aware of, obviously, from the events that occurred and the flow of information and making sure that we have safety and peace in this community. And again, thank you to everybody for their patience and their guidance along the way on this. And I want to especially thank two people that on that weekend beyond just Bernadette, getting to caucus with her a little bit about what she saw on the streets going on. But Carla Bittner, our attorney, Saturday night and Sunday morning of that weekend, worked hard with me to determine what the status of our law was, because we assumed, and incorrectly so, that a village like Ballston Spa would have a notice provision or permit provision in its code, like many cities do. Saratoga, as we know, if you've been watching the news, has such a thing. And we realized we don't. And that was a little bit of a surprise. And we needed to figure out what the right next moves would be ultimately with respect to that. But she worked all weekend with me on the 5th and the 6th to help craft the proper response for the legal purposes of how things need to work here with things like this going on, and also what the future should look like with respect to it. I also want to thank Chief Bush. Chief Bush has been great. I know Officer Ackley had gone out, with my call to him, but then working with Chief Bush, getting the police report to figure out what was going on for the police's point of view, et cetera, was very important. And working with him also on Sunday to see where we're going with this, what information we needed to figure out. And as I said, it led eventually to the discussion with Mayor Kim, and we've been working throughout this last week and change to just figure this out, because I wasn't happy with a lot of the things. As I said, I'm happy that it didn't turn into something a lot worse than it was, because it could have, for all intents and purposes. But the next one might, if we're not careful. And so we need to be ready for that and prepared. I don't care who it is or how it works at the end of the day. We just have to make sure we're ready and ready to be protective of our residents and our visitors in this community. Okay, I've talked more than enough, and it is your turn to talk again with respect to public comment. Again, limited to 5 minutes on any topic. Anna's already got her hand up, so I'll call on her first, I guess. But please remember respect, keeping it to 5 minutes, directing it to the board itself, not to any individual members, and just general, let's practice what we preach here with respect to inclusivity, love, et cetera, with these comments to the degree we can. Anna, take it away with your name and address.
Anna Spanko, 32 Kent Street, and I do love you, Frank. Here's my love.
I love you too.
First, thank you all for this statement, and thank you, Mayor Rossi, for your quick response to this issue, even though you were unavailable. Honestly, I posted on your Facebook, I didn't even hear about this till like the next day, which is so odd, because my phone rings nonstop about the silliest things that are going on in town. There's a dead rabbit on the street, who do I call? I mean, and I'm not kidding.
You got that one too?
Yeah, all of the time. So thank you. You took care of business. It got taken care of without a lot of incident, I guess. I would just like to remind those that were critical of some of your response that your job is to protect the village residents and the business owners of this village. And if you did not immediately reach out to the trustees, that's because you were taking care of business. So I do appreciate that. I do trust that Ballston Spa will handle things a bit differently than Saratoga Springs does in these cases, because it seems to be what's good for this hand is not good for this hand up there. But I know with the leadership we have on this board and with our chief of police and Sheriff Zerlo right down the road, we will be able to take care of these incidences the same across the board as they happen. So I do thank you all for this.
Thank you. Next. All right. Ray, you'll be next.
Ron Parwana, 86 South Street. Thanks everyone for speaking together. Whatever the difficulty of responding logistically to something like this, it really means a lot that you all spoke together against hate in our community. I think it's worth reflecting on the fact that tomorrow will be 2 years since the Taliban took Afghanistan. The group that believes in excluding women from all public life, of imprisoning them in their homes, of that they should be put to death for the most minor of infractions. They're known for their views on women, but their views on ethnicity and religion, religious tolerance, are just as bad. The group that marched through our community want to be the American Taliban. They share their views and goals, and they share many of their methods. During the occupation, one of the Taliban's strongest means to control the population was the use of night letters. These are notes that they'd leave on doors to let people know that they were watching, that they were waiting to act, and that the recipients should be afraid. I was dismayed to read that many of the reactions that called the storming of our downtown peaceful, those same people, by that logic, would call the night letters peaceful. But the Proud Boys' show of force, whether a punch was thrown or not, was no less an act of terrorism and should be viewed as such. Thank you to the members of our community that truly stood up and spoke out against the hate and intimidation and showed that our community is more than they thought, and that we stand together.
Great. I'll save these from Meadowbrook or something like that. Pull that off, you know. Yeah.
Take it, Rick. Okay.
Ray Otten, 16 Middlebrook.
Is that in the village?
It's in the village. I want to thank you all for this piece of paper that we got. Okay, it's a great job. It surprised me that it was so fluid and so amiable to everyone. I do have a concern, and no, I do not. Oh wait, before we get into this, will everybody do me a favor? Look out that window.
Isn't it beautiful?
You guys, turn around,
Get
take
out.
a look at that. Everybody that's home, look at that sunset. Oh my God. It's absolutely gorgeous. Okay, I had to get that out. I'm concerned only about the freedom of speech. I do not in any way, shape, or form agree with their philosophies. I just want to make sure that we also, 3 years ago, had a big protest up on the corner of Route 67 and 50 that also could have exploded, but at that point, nobody said, we got to do something about this. Now, all of a sudden, we're doing something about this. Equity is what I'm looking for. Okay, whether it be any of these things listed here. I am not a proponent of violence. I grew up with that, and it's not fun. It hurts. Okay, it's something that we don't want in our community. Like I say, I don't agree with the principles, but I want to make sure that we are careful and that we maintain the freedom of speech. That's got to be uppermost. Okay, if you don't agree with somebody, that's great. You know, don't agree with them. But let them be heard. You have to. That's what we're about in this country. Okay. The second thing was, again, the what was said on social media and to the papers about we didn't get notice. I'm glad you didn't notify them. I'm glad you took care of business the way you did. As Ian said, that's what needed to happen at that time. Coming from a background in emergency medicine, you take care of the issue there. You don't call up mom and dad and say, hey, your kid just broke his head open. You take care of the head. That's what you gotta do. Then you call up and tell everybody later. Okay, that's what's gotta happen. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. On a lighter note, as I travel around the village on my little scooter and with the new headlights, I don't know if you saw it or not. Okay. Kelly Park. Frank, I'll ask you, do we know on the, behind the pool, how far does the village property go down there?
I have to look. I think that property line slants across the creek in a way that I don't think it's as deep on that side as it is on the Kelly Park side, let's say. So I would have to get the official, hey, Anna, could you pull me that map sometime?
Yeah.
There you go.
Can do.
You got nothing else to do? You're not saying that? The reason I ask is my last trip down there, there's a section that abuts the creek that sort of sticks out and it's pretty wide open, so you get down there and fish. And there's people have started little fires and that, you know, it's gonna happen. On the opposite side of the creek from that, just up towards the pool, I look and there's chairs and clotheslines and all sorts of stuff there. And I just don't know if that's somebody's property that they sit down there and they watch the creek creek. And there's a fire ran and all that stuff. I'm just wondering whose it is. And if it's something that needs to be addressed by us, by the park committee, maybe then, you know, if that's something they can look into, I don't know. You know, it's just, it's a concern to me that, you know, we're taking and becoming real comfortable down there with lawn chairs and clotheslines and all that. So it should be looked into.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. That's all I have. Sorry.
Jackson.
Hi, Jess Rich, 77 Ballston Ave, also owner of Sage Wine and Spirits. So I was basically the only person who was on the street who interacted with the group that came in last weekend. They left reading material claiming to be Proud Boys. They were all masked, some were armed. In a difference from the Saratoga demonstration, in which they had all manner of other flags. In front of my store, some of them also had pride flags. One of them was wearing it as a cape. I have many reasons to believe my store was targeted. I posted on my social media about this. I said what I said to them. Doesn't even matter. But what I want to say is that in a moment that I have been preparing for 7 years as an openly queer, semi-public figure in the downtown of Ballston Spa, everyone kept saying, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe it didn't happen sooner. So that when it did happen, I didn't even think, I just went out and asked them to leave our town. They're not from here. They obviously have a set of beliefs that if you want to read them, they left them on the postcard, come to my store, I have it. That they say they're proud of, that motivates them. Well, they won't even show their faces. And that's a huge difference between any protest that we've ever seen in Ballston Spa. Beyond that, the issue of parading through town is that you are in the street and you are blocking traffic. You are creating hazard both for yourself and for drivers. So this was one vehicle that was on the road and was surrounded by about 20-ish men, masked men, walking in the road. So I think that's a huge thing to take note of when we're talking about demonstrations and free speech. The question about free speech is, when it starts intimidating people who are core members of the community here, whether they're residents or shop owners or whoever, visitors, shouldn't our thought go to the person who's affected by that free speech and talk about what impact that has on that person? And then how does that call back to the values of this village? And what I want to say is thank you, because despite the fact that I'm at day 9 of being harassed online, still, this village, this board, Frank and Bernadette, have been excellent in your response to this. And that was frankly a much better, more thorough statement than I expected, and I really, really appreciate it. I am very outspoken, I'm very open. That doesn't mean that I don't get scared. And there have been many times in the last 7 years that I felt uneasy in this village. Last Saturday, I felt scared. And through some communications I've had with different groups around, including the Pride Center of the Capital Region in Albany, I'm hearing that there are several hate groups that are organizing and motivating in this area. They weren't able to give me names. I didn't pursue. But that might be something you might want to ask them about. Bernadette, you're amazing. Your response was incredible. Thank you for making me feel better. Frank, thank you for the conversations we had and for the review left. And thank you to the whole board and frankly to this whole community, because despite the sort of annoying things I'm having to deal with and some of the threatening things I'm having to deal with, this is a very loving community with a lot of people who also come here from outside the community and enjoy the fact that it is a neighborhood, that it is small. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate being part of it. So thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Christine.
I wanted to thank you as well for this statement on the demonstration by this group, the Proud Boys. It is a very well-worded, concise, feeling statement that represents you and the community as well. It very, very well. And I appreciate the response and the way it was all handled. I have one comment. In the first paragraph, though, it says, by some organizations in the United States and Canada as a hate group. That seems to me almost a little, I don't mean this, I'm searching for a word. It's not as definite as I think that it can be, that some organization consider it a hate group. It is clearly a hate group. And it is also, and I don't know if you want to add this in, but it has been designated by the FBI, which is obviously the federal government, as an extremist group. So I don't know if you want to define it. I think we have to define it, call it out and define it for the abomination that it is. But thank you very much for this statement and for your response to it. Just a couple of other things. I want to very much thank the House and Garden Club, as the president also of Friends of the Public Library, for all of their beautiful work with the gardens. The gardens around the library are really, really wonderful. The clerks tell me that people come in and they thank them. They thank the clerks, and the clerks will say, well, we don't do the garden. But in any event, it's really beautiful. The House and Garden Club has really adopted the library. They make it look beautiful. It's a very positive reflection of the community that you can experience here. And the Friends of the Library motto is everyone needs a friend, even libraries. And the House and Garden Club is a very good volunteer organization that treats us very, very well. Just a couple more things on the CDTA bus shelters. I just have a couple of questions. I get that the stop may be changed. It is from Van Buren, it's half a block. It's not really just a few steps, it's half a block. I think that's probably okay. It's also a distance of a half a block from the intersection of Milton and Malta. I just have a question. I get that they're going to change the stops going north. And it doesn't surprise me that there's a much bigger number of people going north than coming south. That makes a lot of sense to me. It's also what I have personally experienced. So they're going to recalibrate going north. Are they also going to recalibrate going south? And what are they going to have on the other side of the street? And it's just a question. I have no opinion either way, but I would like to know.
I won't count this against your time. You just my quick response.
No, please, let me finish, please, if I may, with my train of thought.
Fine.
The other thing is, I don't want to lose it.
You're fine.
Okay. In terms of the bus shelters, and you said a medium shelter, I don't know what that means. The way I see bus shelters, they're either 2-seaters or 3-seaters. And what I can tell you is that if medium means a 2-seat per person, the only way you're going to have 2 people in there is if you have 2 people who are together, or if you have a parent and a child. The way bus etiquette works, especially in a pandemic, if you have 2 people who don't know each other in a bus shelter, you're going to need 3 seats because they're not going to be sitting next to each other. It's just somebody's going to be out in the cold. It's just a thought. I also didn't understand the bump out, so maybe you can answer this for me. I guess I was envisioning that this bus shelter would be not set back, but would go back into the area owned by village so that it wouldn't have to be out on the sidewalk at all. I mean, obviously there'll be a post that says it's a bus stop and the CDTA will stop there. But I was just wondering, I mean, if you needed a bigger or a larger shelter, which I think is probably a 3-seater shelter, I guess you could use, if you were willing to, take up a parking space in that area. My last question is about DPW. I was reading this proposal about Labella, and I may not be following this. I may have lost the thread, but I'm not clear here what we are doing. I don't know if there's being an assessment on whether the DPW space is adequate or whether we are fixing, it says temporarily, the DPW garage. Now, just a couple of things. I have to tell you, when I was mayor, I used to have nightmares about employees getting crushed between the equipment in the DPW garage. It is totally inadequate. If you've ever been in that building, you probably don't want to go back. It is inadequate for our equipment. It is inadequate for our employees. So I don't know why. I'd like to understand why, if we're going to fix it, why we're going to, temporarily, why we aren't considering, totally abolishing it or moving it someplace else. I think that was the conversation that went on for a couple of years. And I really think that it is, as it stands now, it is inadequate for both people and new equipment. It's not a big enough space to protect, I think, the people and the new equipment that we have. So I'd like to understand that. It also says, no, please.
Yeah, Christine, it's 5 minutes.
$8,000, this is my last sentence.
Okay.
$8,000, I think that number should be in the interest of transparency, maybe it was just forgotten, that this is what's going to be paid for the service. It's not in the resolution.
Which service are you talking? The proposal
Well,
for
it says,
Labella?
yeah, it doesn't say to designate, it doesn't give the amount, whereas other resolutions give the amount. Thank you.
Those amounts are definitive. Those are not to exceed. That's why. But let me take your comments front to back, basically here. With respect to Labella, you may have missed 3 weeks ago when we had the proposal to do the architecture review and facility review for a new building on site there. So that is going on right now. That means we have a winter, at least one winter here, where they're going to have to operate out of that building. What had happened in the last storm of this last winter is that by accident, as a plow truck was coming out, it clipped and dragged one of the bay dividers and almost took the building with it. So this repair is an insurance covered repair for the time being to make sure that the structure is shored up for this winter. It's okay for now. It's been reviewed by engineers, but they want to make sure that nothing happens as the season changes again, to make sure it's shored up for the time being until we take the next steps, get our assessment back from Labella and figure out where to go with it over the next year to 2 years, obviously. So that there's that. And again, we had this in May, but we want to make sure insurance was going to cover the engineering. Jeff kind of got bogged down with Front Street, finally got the answers we needed from him to move this forward at this point.
Thank you. I thought I possibly had lost the thread. That's why
That's
I
fine.
meant it. Yeah.
Shelter size, I just opened up Megan's email, Megan Quirk from CDTA. It is a 5 by 10, I believe. Yes, 5 by 10 shelter that has, from what the photo looks like here. So I try to navigate this here. Give or take 3 seats on a bench and then space to either side for somebody not wanting to sit, but to be covered basically at that point. So again, what's happening here is that on the northbound side, we're going to move the stop and put the shelter. On the southbound side, we are not going to do anything for now until we see what the ridership pans out to be after the changes with the social services line 7 times a day that they're going to do. And they're going to assess even whether or not they want to keep that as a line, a part of the line on the 450, or maybe offshoot it again into its own subline later on. So they're going to be watching what happens with this development over the next 2 months pretty closely themselves, and we're going to communicate about it. But for now, they understand we want a shelter. It would be, as you suggested, bumping into the parking lot. The 5 by 10 is what they recommend based on the ridership numbers they're seeing on their end. And then they will reassess again later on to see if everything that needs to happen there has happened and is good. And also at Doubleday Woods up at that end to see if another crosswalk may be necessary up there by McMaster. Maybe moving the stop from Neighbor Lane down closer to McMaster to encourage the crossing at a formal crosswalk at that point. So they're looking at all those different ideas and options ultimately. So you may have some offset stops, but you're going to still have a multitude of stops going through the village in both directions.
Okay. And the last thing, when they say 7, just so we understand, when they say 7 trips a day to departments.
I'm waiting for that schedule. I know you're going with it. I want to see myself.
Yeah. Well, it's also that what they're talking about is 3 north and 3 south. It's not.
I don't know that for sure, to be honest with you.
That's okay.
Well,
I'll bet you 10.
Well, the one reason why I think it might not be is the odd number, because it wouldn't divide by 2 in that respect, but that's what I've got to see myself too. So I'm not sure, but we'll be checking on that.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
Just for reference, I think these tables are what, 8 feet long? Somewhere in
Give or
there,
take.
probably.
Yeah, if I laid across, it'd be another couple of feet. Yeah.
So a bus stop 5 by 10, there'll be a nice size. The next biggest size is 5 by 15, which is almost 2 tables. It's probably more than we need at the moment, because we really just had 2 or 3 people at the time.
Can I ask, are they going to get rid of the parking spots in front of this new stop?
A parking spot on the street by Reese Shop that will enable the avoidance of any of a bump out there as well to make sure that people can walk through the no parking space, let's call it, to the bus without obstruction. Again, if there's no car parked in a few spots, they'll be able to get over entirely.
No, but I mean, we got shut down to give up 1 parking space so that people
Correct.
can get across.
We can also recalibrate that lot a little bit better. I've noticed that we haven't necessarily maximized that lot very well, and so this may give us the reality of doing that finally. Okay. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Jeremy Baird, 3 Maple Avenue. I just wanted to commend the board and the audience tonight for just the way that the resolution was handled. It shows a great example of working together where there were differences of opinion on some things. Everyone handled them respectfully and listened to each other, which is nice to see. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Anybody else in the house? Yes, Mary.
Mary Price Bush, 105 McLean Street. First, Jess, I'm sorry for what happened to you, and I applaud you for standing up here and sharing it with us and being pretty brave about it. I couldn't do it. Board, thank you for working together. Mayor Rossi, thank you for organizing this with the other police agencies so we can keep our village safe, and that's much appreciated. On a lighter note, Family Fun Day is Sunday, and it's bigger, it's gonna be bigger than last year. We've got more vendors, we've got lots of crafts going on. Front Street is gonna be closed to parking on Sunday. I believe no parking signs are gonna be going up Saturday night. We are in need of volunteers, so if anyone wants to volunteer, can I get your? Yep. You can text Anastaco at 518-588-8188, or you can email Jen, the village administrator, at villageadmin@villageofballstonspa.org.
Hey, Mary, one question for you. I've got notes about this. The participation from vendors or let's say businesses in the community, not even just those on Front Street, seems to be a lot higher than last year. Is that true?
It is. I think because we had such success last year with the event, people are excited about it. They, it was great advertisement for them. And I think people really enjoyed the community feel.
That's good. I know a lot of people feel that have businesses not on Front Street, that they're kind of left out of some of these things. So it's nice to know that we are able to bring them in for a situation like this. So thank you to them for wanting to participate in Family Fun Day 2023. Anybody else in the house? For now, then, we will go to Jared Icolucci on Zoom.
Hello, Kristen Icolucci, 24 Chapman Street. I just want to say thank you to Jess for her statement tonight and for her statements on social media. I think a lot of us were aware of this awful extremist hate group march because of her brave statements and powerful statements on social media. So I just want to thank her for, again, just being such an important voice in our community. And thank you for coming today and speaking out. I also want to say that I think it's a little worrisome to me that the mayor and deputy mayor did not include the other trustees on communications of this horrible event. We're supposed to be a village of friends, and everyone sitting on the board, all of the trustees, you're all leaders in our community, and you all have outreach that you're responsible for. So if not all of the trustees are aware of an event like this happening, or God forbid, an emergency happening in our village because of a lack of communication from our mayor and deputy mayor to their other colleagues, equal colleagues on the board, that's a concern for me. We've seen that as a theme almost every meeting, except for last meeting. Y'all did a great job last meeting. But I would just encourage you to, again, keep each other informed of what's happening in our village. And please talk to each other outside of these village meetings. You're all supposed to be working together for all of us, to protect all of us, to keep us all informed. So I would please encourage you for any future events like this to please talk to each other and work together outside of these village meetings as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no hands, we will go to board response. And who would like to go first?
I'd like to respond on the theme you just heard from Kristen. It was approximately 4 hours after the event, and I got an email from a resident about this and asking, what happened? Do we have, is there something we can do about it? And I have no knowledge of it. And I think a short email or text message to the trustees would have been in order. Might not be, right as the event was happening, clearly not. But 4 hours later, to hear from residents about this event was was troublesome, that I should know about this. You know, I shouldn't be hearing about it from residents when the mayor and the deputy mayor were in full knowledge of this event, particularly given the group that protested.
Okay, Liz, thank you.
Um,
Bernadette, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to comment. Jess, one of the things I admire about you the most is that you are outspoken. And we don't always agree all the time, but we can talk about those things, and I love that. And I love that you were willing to go there. I appreciate you informing me right away, and because we learned we did not have proper communications from our surrounding communities, which is, in these sort of situations, we learn a lot. And I encourage our board, and I'm sorry, Liz, as I expressed in email, that you were not immediately informed, but that's because I was really concerned about reaching out to our businesses, and I had been reaching out to people after I had met with Jess. I had talked to a number of other businesses. So while you may disagree, it is what it is at this point, and I hope that, again, I encourage us an email that we all move forward in unity. We have Carla looking at how we can adjust our law, our code, because that was the question. That was the question I received that night was this approved? And quite frankly, we cannot approve one way or the other the way our code is written. So I encourage our board, and I think there is unity on this board to continue to work on this. I know that there are a few people have been texting me if they can still comment on this topic, and yeah, there's still room. We're still looking at this. What did Carla say, September?
That's she's aiming to get us something, I think, for the
Like
end
a
of the
draft
month.
for
Yeah.
us. So there's going to be lots of opportunities to talk. I encourage people to talk to us. We want to hear opinions on this. And ultimately, to Jess's point, how do we make this safe? How do we protect our residents amid, trying to find the right words, but to me, that was most important, was the safety of this community. And, I think that we have a way to move forward as a team. So thank you for everybody who's commented so far tonight.
Thank you. Next up, anybody? Go ahead, Ben.
As you know, I've wanted us to be a strong voice on behalf of the village. And I'm just wondering if it would be acceptable to everyone here to post the statement we read on the website and Facebook page, at least for a week or something, to allow people to read it more easily.
I will let my gurus of web and Facebook give input. Could you put that up?
I'm fine posting whatever the board has an opinion on being important and pertinent. So yes.
Okay.
And Terry on Facebook side? Okay, there you go.
All right. Thank you for posting that on Facebook and the website. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it.
And Sean, anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I was on the board back in 2017 when the original resolution was approved, and I was glad to see the board, take those words, which were well written and meaningful, and craft them to deal with the current event. One thing that out of this recent event is that we've recognized that we need local regulation. We need to enhance it so that we have a permitting process when individuals who do want to demonstrate, and obviously in our public right of way. That way we can address public safety, and we also can balance people's constitutional rights. Again, the Constitution does not protect hate speech. Clearly not what is intended by freedom of speech. But as with everything, I don't know, I'm pretty old, but But I remember the incident in Skokie, Illinois, and that was actually supported by the ACLU because, yeah, nobody likes that speech. And for folks who may not know that, that was a Nazi protest. And they were given a permit to protest in the town of Skokie. And again, that type of hate speech is not acceptable in my mind. It doesn't reflect my values or opinions. However, there are certain constitutional rights which we have to balance, whether we like it or not. That's all I have to say.
So let me step out of the mayor's shoes for a second here a little bit and sort of go into friend of the community life here for a second. When Sean had recommended going back to 2017 for the wording, because we were having some internal tips about where to go, cohesiveness and size of the statement, et cetera. And he brought it up and I went back and looked at it and I'm like, aside from making changes relevant to the current situation, it's pretty good. And I was sitting there on Friday morning revising it, and I realized, and I think you had said in your email, I didn't actually appreciate it until later on, it was originally written by Noah Shaw. And you look back and you remember Noah and I used to hate each other. Absolutely hate each other. And I just kind of laughed to myself. And then I said, you know what, in honor of Noah, because as you talk to people about what happened in this community over the last years, you realize that Noah actually was more behind the scenes trying to work with Mayor Romano at the time, and actually was a healthy force in this community more than you realize up front about the situation. And I've always figured I got to at some point thank him for that and tell him I was wrong, which as an Italian, you hate to do. I mean, family or anybody else, you hate to say it, but I have to at some point. But I'll share a story that goes to the heart of when I was writing the words and looking for the input and everything else, why I knew it was accurate, what was going into this statement and what was already there that we were reaffirming. I remember one night I was talking with Jeff Garis and Linda Garis at Henry's. And I'm sitting there at the bar and a woman comes in and she's like, "You don't remember me, do you?" She came in just to talk to me. I didn't really pick up on it, but then I realized it. And I'm like, "I don't." And she's like, "I'm Karen Barone. I'm Noah Shaw's wife." I'm like, "Oh, Karen, how are you?" And she starts crying and says, "I just want you to know, I think you're doing a fantastic job and I'm so happy you're our mayor." And I start crying because I didn't see it coming. I didn't understand where it was coming, but I also let her know that I kind of knew I was wrong about Noah and her back when. And we hugged. I still owe her to sit down and try to break bread at some point, but that's our community here at Ballston Spa. And I'm pissed off that those people that came in that day that thought they were going to have just a joyous little time at our expense thought they could do it and just screw with us and screw with our unity here, okay? That's not me as mayor saying it. It's me as Frank Rossi saying it, somebody that's learned, honestly, to really love his village. And when Jess and I had talked on the Sunday after, I said to her, 5 years ago, I would have reacted the same way she did. I would have went out on that street, pumped out my chest and said, "Get the hell off our streets, get the hell out of my face." I realize now they're trying to elicit that reaction. They're trying to get us to react like that because they want to get us on video and play the victim and everything else. And you know what? The hell with them if that's what they're doing. I don't care if it's right side, left side, middle side, whatever side it is. Anybody that's coming into our community to raise a ruckus like that, Yes, you've got your First Amendment rights. I will guard those rights to the day I die. But you know what? Don't intimidate my community. Don't hurt my community. For goodness sake, understand we are a loving community. That, yeah, we argue like kids about the stupidest things in the world and 6-hour-long meetings and everything else. But you know what? We must care about each other. We must love each other enough to even put ourselves through this. That's why I know the words that were read tonight in that resolution are true. I'm proud of this board. I'm more proud of this community. Thank you for everything, again, you've done to show that's who we are here in the village of Ballston Spa. Can I get a motion that the DPW be authorized to purchase 5 fire hydrants and parts at a cost of $19,878?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Raymond. Trustee Fandesa, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Douglas Fuller be appointed as a part-time crossing guard with a pay rate of $16.50 per hour? Trustee Fandesa. Trustee Cormos, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Terry Scherer be thanked for his 44 years of service to the village and that he be removed from the roles of the Ballston Spa Police Department?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa.
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. Terry, thank you again for everything you've done for our community. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Got to get a motion that Joe Minier be added to the roles of Union Fire Company number 2 in the Ballston Spa Fire Department.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Raymond.
I'll second.
Trustee Fandesa, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving $4,800 to be spent for the village police department's recently established narcotics investigation team to combat the growing number of drug overdose deaths in the village? Equipment/software is detailed in the attached grant application, with such grant, if awarded, covering the expenditure and other potential expenses as detailed in the application.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa.
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion.
Yeah, I have a question. So we put the money forward and it's reimbursed if we get the grant?
If we're successful, from my understanding, we have a very, very good chance for this grant. In fact, I think some folks may have approached us about it to say that that money was available and it could meet a need for us. Yes.
Okay, so we have a recently established narcotics investigation team. How recent, this is the first I've heard of it that I can remember. So as I emailed earlier today,
You got an answer, I don't know if you saw it.
yeah, I saw an email back. I would be interested in potentially a meeting with the police chief to talk about this narcotics investigation team.
Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays are your best days. So if you got time in those days, we'll get you over there.
Yeah, well, it's a question whether it's a full meeting with everybody or executive. I don't know if it needs to be, but
I'd like to hear it too.
Well, that's 3.
I mean, one of the questions I have is, I only know about narcotics investigation from what I've seen on TV, but it's my impression that it's very time consuming. And so I'm just interested in, the staffing involved, what's not being done or what additional resources are being applied to this that we might be called on to fund. Just basically, what does this team look like and how will it function? And the implications for our department and our village.
Okay, I think it's important to read to the public the response from Chief Bush tonight. As far as the narcotics investigation, I am not sure if you're aware of the numerous overdose deaths that we've experienced in the village over the last couple of years, and the dramatic increase just in the last 8 months. I have solicited the help of the New York State Police Narcotics Investigation Team and the Saratoga County Narcotics Team from the Sheriff's Office. Both are eager to help on the surface. However, this crisis that we are facing is not just a village issue. It's all over and resources are extremely thin. We recently hired a retired investigator who ran the Saratoga Springs Narcotics Unit, who is more than capable of identifying, investigating, and making arrests of drug dealers in the village. In these cases, time is critical and action must be taken when there is opportunity. This doesn't allow for other agencies to drop what they're doing and assist us. I have 2 very qualified officers running the investigations. I requested funds through a DCJS grant to get the necessary equipment needed for successful prosecution of our cases. whether there's a need for this work to be done. I believe one life lost is too great. And I would certainly never put a price tag on a human life. I would be more than happy to discuss in whatever form you think best. Regards, Chief Bush.
Thank you. So right now we have 2 officers at a time on duty, right?
Mhm.
And so they will be doing this, or we have some third person hired from Saratoga? Or some outside?
Well, no,
entity?
the third person from Saratoga, somebody we've hired as a part-time officer
So
at this
they're
point.
internal now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And do you know how recently established this was?
I believe the real impetus was the 3 deaths in the 1-week period in the village. That basically was the turning point for us to focus on this and get us into a position to start going after these situations, because clearly there's a source issue somewhere and we're trying to get to the bottom of it and get rid of it.
Budget implication. I mean, we're adding people. Are we adding to our budget and also
The grant covers labor.
like, okay, how long does the grant last?
I believe it's an annual grant from what I read.
So we're gonna get grant money to pay for the extra people.
That's what is
And if you
intended.
don't get the grant,
Then we have the software and we'll have to figure out what to do with the labor situation at that point.
okay. And I guess as long as there's additional police force, then it won't take away from their other units.
Correct. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the VSBPA Ice Cream Social in concert in the park be approved for a rain date of August 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. in Iron Spring Park? Proof of insurance has been provided. Trustee Fondainza, Trustee Cormos, discussion. Hopefully see you all there. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the VSBPA be approved to reschedule a concert in the park originally scheduled for August 10th to September 7th. Updated proof of insurance has been provided. Trustee Fondainza.
Second.
Now I'll go to Trustee Cormos, discussion. And we all hope it does stop raining. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the proposal of Labella Associates for engineering work related to the repairs at the DPW garage and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement?
I'll make them.
Trustee Raymond. Trustee Fondainza, discussion.
Yeah, I was looking at this proposal in relation to the one 3 weeks ago.
Correct. Mhm.
And I'd like to know how they're related, because are we gonna go ahead and do all the repairs if that assessment shows, you know, the building is not worth repairing? I mean, it's throwing money at a building that may come down, but that may be necessary, but I just want to fully understand.
The building is not worth repairing. That was made clear in the assessment from the architect as a spitball answer, but somebody that's done this for long enough. So that's not their intent with what they're going to be reviewing. That said, we have to make sure this building stands up for the time being. And so that's what this is geared to do, ensure that there's no compromise in the integrity of the building moving forward for this winter, especially as snow mounts on roofs, et cetera. And so that's what we want to make sure of, and insurance will cover it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I just,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna add that this type of repair, they're usually categorized as emergent repairs and then permanent repairs. What we have now is an emergency repair. And what this will do is basically create a design for the permanent repair.
There you go.
Okay, I have one other point in this.
We were so close to the vote too.
Yeah. Now, in this proposal, it talks about looking at hazardous materials, and in the larger proposal that we passed 3 weeks ago, it did not cover that. And we discussed, you know, that it probably should. So is this assessment of hazardous materials going to be sufficient?
This is not going into the ground hazardous materials. This is on the actual surface. We're not going and removing the flooring or anything like that. We're actually just doing the garage itself. So I think the use of the terminology hazardous materials is not the same thing as we were assuming from last.
So they're looking for like lead paint or
Yes,
things like that,
yes.
but only in the area that was damaged?
Yes. Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving Town Square Media Albany's event, The Taste of Toga, at the Saratoga County Fairgrounds on Saturday, September 23rd, 2023, from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m., including a setup Friday, September 22nd, 2023, from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m., and Saturday, September 23rd, 2023, from 7:30 a.m. until 1 p.m., with a breakdown Saturday, September 23rd, 2023, starting at 10 p.m., and Monday, September 25th, 2023, from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. Any costs of the village related to the Ballston Spa Police Department hours and/or overtime are to be compensated by Town Square Media Albany, and an insurance certificate naming the Village of Ballston Spa as an additional insured party has been provided.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Trustee Batson. With ambivalence on my right side, and Trustee Fundane's discussion.
Go ahead. No, please go ahead.
Somebody go.
My question was, how many people are attending this event? I mean, it seemed pretty, I mean, their materials seem very thorough. It sounds like a large event.
The tickets, maximum tickets to be sold are 8,000. As of 2 weeks ago, they were at 2,000. So the likelihood of them hitting 8,000 is very low. For those that don't know, the acts, there's going to be dueling pianos. There's going to be a country superstar whose name I've forgotten already, and Ja Rule and Ashanti. So you can see where my head is right now. Ja Rule and Ashanti will be performing at night at this event. It is to highlight in its core food from different businesses from Saratoga and Ballston Spa. For instance, Kevin from Ribbon will be providing some food up there as well. I think the crux of this comes like this. So we made sure they used the right form, first off. They've got 30 security, as I said. They were open to ideas on how to utilize beef up our police presence that night. And so they will pay for that. They talked with Chief Bayshore on the correct place to have fire, just to make sure that we weren't gonna have issues getting Welcome back to our friendly meeting here in the village. Discuss what to do. And so Hi, it's me again. So anyway, we put it on the agenda. Here we sit. What was the next question?
I was just gonna say a couple things. A 18-year-old self would have been so excited to vote on this, weirdly. But the more important thing is I really liked how thorough this applicant was. And I mean, the fairgrounds has had some bigger events that I just really would love to see something similar, like more information. There's been some times the events have been, I don't know, just maybe a little, I would just like more information. This is the model, like maybe not to this extent, but you know.
So Carla is actually, by the executive's request, putting together a memo on when we should and shouldn't be asking for more information and how the amusements code pertains to certain things or not. That doesn't give us definitive answers on all the fair events because we actually had a schedule and we're looking at it and we're like, well, you could argue either way on a couple of these things. But we also have to be fair to Jennifer at the fairgrounds that they can't always on every small prime rib dinner or whatever they're having up there. And so we've got to find the middle ground. So we're trying to figure out with a memo to assist us what to do in the future with respect to this. So I hear you. And that's actually what initiated the conversation and why we got Jennifer to join us for that meeting because we'd already started that conversation a couple of months ago with Terry. And then this came to fruition and we're like, this probably is the best example of why we need better awareness of what's going on here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the attached request for proposal for a planning consultant related to the Brownfield Opportunity Area Grant and authorizing the mayor to execute any related documentation to allow the RFP to be issued? Trustee Fondenza.
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor? Sorry. Go ahead.
I pulled my old notes and saw that we got this grant December 14th, 2021, with Larry Woolbright. And then I guess we signed the contracts, there was a notice here on June 13th, 2022. And now we're seeing this RFP. I have a number of issues with it. For one, it doesn't follow the work plan to have an RFP before you have a steering committee.
You mean the other way around? You mean the other way around, I think.
No.
You to have a steering committee before an RFP is what you're
steering-
suggesting.
Yeah, because their step.
We spoke to the State Department about that, actually.
Well, I don't see any reason for it to be changed because the way we've done most of our grants is that we first form a steering committee to develop and review an RFP. And then they actually look at the consultants instead of it being, as in this document, just village staff. I think that's not the way we've done it, and I don't think it's the way we should do it. As we just saw with the comprehensive plan, the value of having citizen input into these issues. And they have a number of folks that they suggest should be on a steering committee for a brownfield opportunity grant. And I think we need to pull those voices together, maybe send this out, but unless you have a committee reviewing the consultants, I don't think I can support it.
Okay, just to confirm, we've had a number of conversations with the Department of State. The work plan is updated. Well, it's written as they allowed us basically to get a consultant on board and then to work with the consultant to really ensure that we have a robust and diverse steering committee. There's nothing to say that as a board that we can't make a decision as to who our consultant is. And, absolutely, there's going to be, community input. I'm really eager to see a steering committee developed, but with that guidance from the consultant. So again, to confirm, there's been discussions with Department of State. Carla has looked at this. Matt Smith from Department of State has looked at this numerous times as well. There has been no pushback from the Department of State on that. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that, the board could support this and so we can get moving with the I can't say that right.
BOA.
BOA, thank you, with the RFP and just get going on it, so. All right, thanks.
Is all this back and forth with the Department of State the reason it's taken this long to get to this stage?
Well, so there wasn't a priority set for Carla to do it, to be honest with you, because of the things that I named off. Yeah, that kind of puts a little damper on moving other things forward. Go ahead.
Yeah, well,
We're not.
as you know, I have a background in writing grants, RFPs, et cetera, and I offer to help. And you didn't take me up on that.
Actually, last
Actually,
June.
we asked you
yeah.
for your help and you refused. So we have it in front of us and I encourage this board to vote on it. And I believe someone else had a comment. Actually.
Yeah, Sean did.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming we can, walk and chew gum at the same time.
I knew it was coming.
So I don't see a problem with also getting the committee together. I sure having the consultants' input will be important, but we do need to tell people that we're to fill out committee interest forms for this particular committee, so that we can get at least some applicants. And the sooner we do that, obviously, the better.
Shall we take a roll call?
Trustee Raymond,
Yes.
trustee Baskin,
Yeah.
trustee Van Denza,
Yes.
trustee Cormos,
Abstain.
Mayor Rossi.
And yes, and that is a 4-1 for the purposes of voting, meaning the motion carries. Let's see. So we are done with these motions. There are two motions for Family Fun Day that crept up today. One that you saw, one I became aware of very late today. I was talking to Sean about it earlier. So let's start with the one that you did see. Can I get a motion approving the village entering into an agreement with Fund One Entertainment Services LLC for the purpose of renting 6 carnival games for the price of $850 after the mayor may execute the agreement after village attorney reviews the contract.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondenza,
I'll second.
trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I should actually, before we do that, anybody want to give a public comment on this on Zoom or in the house, because you're allowed 90 seconds. Seeing none and seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I get a motion? That's the best way to word this. Can I get a motion allowing the mayor to negotiate an assignment of contract for the refrigerators for Family Fun Day at a price of $2,800 or less? This assignment is from a prior organization that had contracted with the refrigerators and now would be adopted by the village. The mayor would be able to execute this agreement after review by the village attorney. Trustee Fondenza,
Second.
trustee Raymond, discussion.
So this is all within the 15,000.
Yes, this is just moving it over to the village.
So what's going in the refrigerator?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you are old.
I'd throw out that joke.
Wow. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, any other business from other members?
Yes, I think at least I am prepared to name the picks for the rezoning committee. Carla has suggested we jump right on getting that going, and I think now's a good time, before we finalize it, to start getting, the names together.
We haven't formed the committee yet.
No, that's how we form a committee, is by naming.
No, you actually have to form with the mission, the number of members, et cetera. We haven't gone there yet.
Yeah, we already did.
When?
A number of months ago, it was 10 members. We passed a motion. to
We
form.
never actually passed that motion.
I believe we did.
No, we were actually advised not to at that time because it was too early. So we did not.
All right, we'll have to check.
Yeah. So we'll look into it, Liz. But we'll be passing most likely the comprehensive plan at the next meeting. At that point, will become more germane. Anything
What
else?
I suggest is, for every trustee to get their picks, I know we discussed 10 members. Each trustee picks 2.
We'll take a look at it and then maybe make an official committee and then advertise it officially at that point, I guess. I mean, we have received a couple or few, I think, the committee interest forms related to it, but then we had never actually officially made this committee. So, Christina, I'm sorry, we can't at this point. Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't at this point, Christine.
On the second motion.
It's done. So at this point, there is no executive session necessary. We can discuss with Carla next time on the other stuff. Can I get a motion that the vouchers be audited and the meeting be adjourned at 9:15 p.m.?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa?
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Everybody have fun at Family Fun Day. Enjoy the rest of this summer. We'll see you on August 28th. Thank you.
Yeah.